All right, before I get started with Boots, if you didn't know, he's going to be facing against Uisma Lima. Okay, he's basically the illest dude from Portugal, right? He's not a bad fighter. I did get to check him out only because I saw an Aaron McKenna fight Liam Smith earlier this year, and I was looking up McKenna, and I saw that he beat Uisma Lima. You know what I mean? Solid guy. Throws a lot of punches, a good size at the division. He's solid, all right, but he's nothing different from what we've seen Jerron Ennis face already at 47. So this is going to be Ennis's first fight up at 54. This is like some sort of final eliminator for the WBA. Real quick, the WBA really sketchy, always been sketchy. I just don't understand the rankings. You can't really justify the rankings over there. Yoeni Tellis is going to be fighting someone for the interim title at some point that Terrence Crawford used to have before going up to fight Canelo. I'm sure he's going to be elevated. I'm sure that fight will be. Again, there's so many fighters at 54, and the WBA have all of these guys that you can't even justify the rankers as fighting for their titles over there, with the mini titles that they have: interim, regular, super, final eliminators, regular eliminators. You just can't even explain some of these fights over there at the WBA. You be having fights, guys fighting for the titles, and they don't even have 10 fights in. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's always been weird, but it is what it is. But that's the fight that Boots is having. Now, Boots, love you, bro. I'm a big fan of you. And at one point, I thought you were going to be the next big guy. You still may be, but it's taken a lot of time. With 34 wins in, and you're 28 years old, I don't know when you're 29, whatever, but you're getting up there. With 34 professional wins, right? No losses, no draws. I thought at this point, when I started watching you, I said, this guy is special. He has a lot of potential to be the next big thing. He can switch. He's a big size at 47. He's explosive. His reflexes is off the chain. Power's there. All of this stuff. Love it. Big fan, right? But there was a lot of traffic at 47 at the time. Everybody was building up to Crawford and Spence. So, unfortunately, you didn't become the guy that people really wanted to see Bud or Spence face until after those two fought. But after Bud beat Spence, the Spence haters, who I just addressed in the last video about Canelo, the Spence tried to use you. But unfortunately for you, you ran with it. You ran with it even before that fight because you took the boogeyman approach, right? And then we found out later that Black Prime actually offered you a fight with Crawford prior to that fight, okay? And you didn't take it. Your father did an interview, made it about Showtime, business, whatever. We're not going to go through it, but what I really wanted to say is my point in all of this, and what I'm about to say is you can't be right in all these situations. It's been too many fighters, too many names that's come across the desk, and it can't be everybody's fault that you're fighting guys at this level still. Lima's not a bad fighter. It's a good tune-up. I know they're going to use the excuse because it puts you in the WA position and stuff. Like, bro, you as a unified champion, you're going to be in a position to fight for a top guy. If not a champion, you're going to be already in position moving up to fight a top fighter moving up on your first fight. If you're not going to fight a champion, you're going to be in a fight where it's going to lead you to getting a title fight right after, no matter what. But we know 54. I made a video about 54 recently, and we know there's a hell of a lot of talent there. There's old talent, there's new talent, there's champions, there's whatever you want at 54. It's dangerous up there. You know what I mean? Those are shark waters up there. Everybody loses up there. So you had options. You're not a guy that I think needs to have a tune-up on their first fight up. You had tune-ups all the way leading up to this point. Stanionis was a champion. Yes, he was a champion, but he's also inactive, and he was in the same boat. He needed to prove himself. He never had a fight to really prove himself yet. He was inactive. He was all caught up in the WBA mess, right? And just like you, he needed a shot too, but he was a little bit more inactive to you. Now you beat him up, and that's good. But Stan Jonas is now on a level with these guys at 54. It's completely different. It's a completely different level. But my point is, I've defended you in some of these occasions. I don't know what really is going on in between behind the scenes. We don't. None of us do. But we can base things off your interviews. What you said, what Eddie has said, what Virgil and his team has said, what Brian and his pops has said, and every other fighter that's spoken out about this. It's been Crawford. There's been issues with Brian Norman. There's been issues with Virgil Ortiz Jr. You know, I'm sure there's more out there. But at the end of the day, it can't be everybody else's fault. It can't be. At some point, we got to say, like, bro, what's going on? We can watch your interviews too. We can hear the inconsistencies in what you say. So Lima is disappointed because it's more of what we've seen. And I'm like, bro, we want to see you step up. Make a statement. This is not a statement. There's too many guys at 54 to take these kind of fights. I don't forget the rankings for a second. We know how they do with the rankings. Why is Lima there? Why is Lima in those rankings so high? Based off what? What exactly is he doing? What has he done? Right? 54 is crazy packed. So I seen his interview with YSM, right? Shout out to YSM, Philly-based YouTube channel, right? He does an interview and he brings up like, yo, there's guys that we sent offers out to. They're either unavailable. Maybe they're coming off injuries. Maybe they have fight schedules. So it's not a lot of people available. He brings up Bohachuk, which is a very credible fight. I said this in my video already. Very credible opponent. And then he brings up Ramos. I'm thinking Jesus. I like Jesus. I brought him up in the video too. I like him. He's big, strong. He can box good. He's a southpaw. He's durable. Good counterpuncher. You know, has a loss to Lubin, but it's very questionable. It's a very close fight, right? He can easily fight at 160. That's an excellent fight. But I honestly understand, like, heavy risk, very low reward. But anybody that knows the sport and knows that division knows that Jesus is dangerous and he's a top tier fighter up there. But he wasn't talking about Jesus because Jesus went on Twitter and said, nah, they sent the offer to my uncle, Abel Ramos, down at 47. Abel Ramos, I mean, he's a good fighter, but you guys was going to move him up to fight at 54. I hate when fighters do that. When they go on this whole I'm moving up campaign and the guy that they fight is somebody that came up from 47 or the division below where they were just fighting at. You guys going to move a guy up? It's kind of disappointed to hear because you can't defend that. You can't justify that. Now, I understand it's about you feeling how you feel at the division, but we already know you're a much bigger guy at 47. Like, what more can you need to feel? Like, fighting a guy like Abel Ramos is you can't justify it at 54. There's a million guys there. If you're not going to fight a champion, which I wouldn't have no problem with. I mean, Bakram is on the bench because everybody's up there fair. Let's just call it what it is. That guy, no one wants to fight that guy. So he's on a bench off of one performance against Tim Tszyu. I mean, he didn't look that dangerous before that fight. But against Tim Tszyu, he destroys him. Now, nobody wants to fight him. What are we doing? You couldn't get no one? Now, I heard an interview with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn basically said, was like, yo, we try to get a fight with Virgil Ortiz for August this month. Those guys said they couldn't do it for this month. All right, cool. Might be Team Ortiz's fault. But I know Team Ortiz wanted to fight Boots before, right? So it's been a back and forth with that. It's been a back and forth with Brian Norman too. So Eddie goes and says, well, we're going to take this fight with Lima and we're going to have Virgil Ortiz next. We have an agreement. You know, we're going to have something in early first quarter of 2026. All right, cool. Is that really going to happen though? Because if you're in this final eliminator right now and Winnie Tellez is available for a title shot, are you going to fight him first? Is Virgil going to fight uh, Xander Zayas first? Because that's a big fight too, right? Whole Mexican Puerto Rican thing, you know, it's a big fight. They've been going back and forth. I don't believe Lima is going to be the guy that leads into a Virgil fight, but maybe it does. I don't know. I really don't know. I know Virgil is probably going to have a fight soon, but the way I'm looking at it is what I think is going to happen. I think Boots is over there in the WBA for a reason. The WBA is kind of weak right now as far as their rankings. I expect Boots to beat Lima. I expect Boots to fight Tellez after, all right, who's probably going to be elevated, full champion. Boots is going to win a title. I expect Virgil Ortiz to have a tune-up next. They already exposed or already said that they're not going to have a tough fight because they just had two tough fights. And then after that, I expect there to be a fight between Xander Zayas and Virgil Ortiz Jr. Hopefully, after those two are holding a title, if they both win their fights, I expect Boots to win both fights. I'm not sleeping on Tellez, he's good, but I'm expecting Boots to win that fight if they were to fight. As far as Virgil Ortiz and Zayas, a little bit harder to call. But if they both win their fights, maybe we'll get a big fight between Boots and Virgil. If that's the case, and you could put a stamp on it now, that's the way I think it's gonna go. But I think it's been too much time. And I don't think the longer you have these comfortable fights, you're not really improving. You know, you're not motivated to want to really improve when there's comfort there in your opponents. You know, I think Boots like comfort. I think he does interviews strictly on YSM because they are a Philly-based channel. And they support each other. It's comfortable to do interviews there. There's no pushback, no hard pushback. Like, what about this guy? What happened with this guy? Give me some names. Just those two. Ramos. Which Ramos you talking about? All right, Bolichuk is good. You guys offered him? Did you guys offer him? Was there an offer made? Okay, he wasn't available. Cool. Then that's not your fault. That's a solid opponent. Who else? You have names. Give us some names. You gave us two names and one of them exposed you for not being them. That's all we got. And these opponents, they're all across the board the same level. Daniels is barely better than everybody else he faced. We want better. As a fan, not trying to disrespect you, I like what you do, but this is unacceptable. I think you're better than this. I think your talent is greater than your confidence. That's how I believe it or look at it. And that's the only reason why I'm making this video, because I think you're better than your resume. You know, your schedule, not so good. It sucks at this stage. At 34 fights, it sucks. You could have done better by now. You know what I mean? And I'm in this with how I started it. It can't be everybody else's fault. Some of it could be. Virgil is not perfect. Virgil ducked Boots, not Boots. He ducked Crawford. twice in 147. You know, a lot of people like to give him a pass, but I remember, um, I remember, um, Virgil's not perfect, but Virgil got a pretty good resume for a guy that did not fight for a title yet. You know, he fought Eggy, he fought, Majimov, he fought Bochuk. There's some good fighters. He fought some former champions, and he's fought some tough guys in between those tune-ups. I'm still kind of waiting for Boots to do that. You know, Shukashan was surprisingly good, but he was a very, very huge underdog, and most of the opponents of Boots are huge underdogs. We want to see you step up. All right. So anyway, much love, but we got to be real with everybody, and the schedule is just not good, buddy. It's not, and it's unnecessary at this point. All right. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.